Welcome to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I'm your host and speaking coach, Deborah Deras, known as the top Latina peak performance speaker. This podcast is here to support you with strategies and best practices of paid speakers so you can find out what works and what doesn't, so you can achieve success with ease and grace in your speaking career. Enjoy the show. Are you always on the road speaking and your house is all alone collecting dust? Wouldn't it be nice to make some passive income while you're out speaking on the road? Well, I do. Want to know my secret? Airbnb. I use Airbnb to make some extra cash to reinvest in marketing for my speaking business. It's so simple. You just set up a listing and voila, you come home to money in your bank account on top of what you already made speaking. If you want to know more, go to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast.com to get all the information. Welcome back to another great episode of the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I am excited because I feel like we have a celebrity with us today. This is a woman that I have been following on Facebook. I feel like she's my friend, attending her Facebook group. And most recently, I had a chance to read her book, which is now a required reading for all of my speaking coaching clients. Let me introduce you to Dr. Michelle Mazur, founder of Communication Rebel, on the belief that communication changes the world. So that's what she helps business owners and speakers do. Rebel against the status quo to make a difference, one compelling message at a time. She is the author of 3 books, including the newly released 3-Word Rebellion. I love it. It's my favorite book. Create a one-of-a-kind message that grows your business into a movement. She's also the host of the Rebel Rising podcast. She lives in beautiful Seattle, Washington, with her adoring husband, 3 obsessive felines, and a huge collection of Duran Duran memorabilia. Please help me welcome Michelle Mazur. Yay!
Yay, thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, I love the Duran Duran part. You brought me
You got to put a little bit of your personality into your bio.
Yes, only if you're wearing a Nick Rhodes pin. Forget about John Taylor, my friend. I always love Nick. You can have John. Everybody loved John, right?
I was a Simon girl.
Shocking. I should know that because I think you mentioned it in your book. Oh my God. So I am just so grateful to be here, that you're here with us. I'm so grateful that your book is here with me. It's literally, I have a million books because I'm a bookaholic. I literally don't have pots and pans in my kitchen. I have books. But there's like 3 books that I'm always reading. You know, you have to rotate. And your book is in my top 3 rotation, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes. And it's really my favorite. Don't tell the other books. I don't want them to get jealous. So I'm so excited to have you here and for people to hear your story. Do you want to let people know a little bit about your background before we get into the book?
Oh, sure. Yes, I'd love to. So my background, I have a PhD in communication, and really I was planning to be an academic my whole entire life. That was my track. Like I was going to be a professor, then a tenured professor and a full professor. Except after I got out of graduate school, I realized I hated being a professor, loved graduate school, hated being a professor, loved teaching, loved the research. It was the politics that was frankly killing me. So I made a switch and I left my tenure track job at the University of Hawaii and moved to Seattle, where I didn't start a business right away, even though that was kind of in the back of my head. I just went into corporate because I was like, okay, I can do research. I'm a very talented researcher. I'll go into corporate and do market research. And that was also a terrible fit, but I'm really grateful that I did it. I learned so much about business from doing that job. And eventually, while I was still in corporate, I started a blog that was originally all about speaking. And that morphed morphed into finding my very first client ever after like writing a really ranty post about how not to be a motivational speaker. And then recently, I guess it's been about a year and a half now, I've transitioned from just working with speakers to helping change making businesses create their messaging for the next 3 to 5 years of their business.
It's so powerful. And knowing marketing research, you literally can be successful and help other businesses be successful at any business venture. Because when you know your market and you know the problem they have and you know how to position yourself to solve it, you can help anyone, right?
Oh, yes. And, communication is actually a really, it's a degree that's focused on how we as human beings process messages. So I've always had this ability to like get inside of the heads of people's audiences and really understand how their message is received from that point of view. And it's always fascinating because I can tell immediately like what's going to push someone away or what's going to pull them towards you.
That's so interesting. And you're such a good writer. Are we able to go back and find the archives of your blogs online?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Everything still lives at drmichellemazur.com. Yes, it's all there. Even my first like really terrible blog post.
You have to write this down. Dr. Michelle Mazur, and it's Mazur.com, because literally, I mean, living in the age that we do of technology, people aren't reading like they did before. They're glancing and they're skimming. And I will tell you, I'm reading a lot less books than I used to. But when I picked up your book, it just, because of the way you communicate, it just draws you in. You feel like you're having a conversation with a friend. So I'm almost so excited to get to your book. I haven't even got to the next question. So how did you get started when you were taking the stage and becoming a speaker? What was your, pathway to be doing that?
Yeah, since I've had such a non-traditional career path, I feel like I've been on stage for most of my life, like whether it was on the speech and debate team in high school, when I was in academia, I was doing a ton of speaking for my research. You'd have to go to conferences and present all of the time because that was important for your peers to know about you and your research. And then when I was in corporate, I was also speaking. So I feel like I've been born on stage. And so I've had a lot of good experience, like getting on the stage, getting those skills and having doors, like I'll say it's a little bit easier to have those doors open for you when, you're speaking for corporations or you're speaking on behalf of your research.
Right. Because you've presented something and people want to know what you have to say. So you're being invited to speak. And so what was the decision that had you transition from working with speakers to working now with corporations on becoming the change that they want to see in the world?
Yes. So it really, for me, came at the end of 2017. I just wrapped up the last episode of my podcast, which used to be called The Rebel Speaker. Now it's The Rebel Rising. And I had this moment of like, I can't talk about this stuff anymore. I can't talk about how to get paid to speak. I can't talk about how to book a speaking gig, how to create a speech, how to market it. I felt like I was one Google search away from being replaced. And although I loved my clients and the change that they were creating in the world, I knew that I had abandoned my own reason for my business, my own why, because I really believe that communication changes the world. And yet when I was being so tactical around speaking, I was just like, ugh. And part of the problem is that I really bought into the rhetoric that, the idea that the only thing people will pay for is that the things that make them money. And so when you're working with speakers, it's all about how do I get on stage and how do I get paid and how do I get paid? Because the speaking industry, and all this is my rebel truth about the speaking industry, they do not want to pay speakers. Like, you are an overhead cost and they don't want to pay you. So they will do, unless you have super unique positioning, super unique thought leadership, you are just an easily replaceable commodity. And for me, I was frustrated with the industry as well. And then I was just like, okay, I'm going to sit with this because I can't do this anymore. And luckily, during this time, there were all these social movements that were springing up in the United States, whether it was Me Too or Black Lives Matter or even Make America Great Again. And I thought, man, what these social movements do so well is they encapsulate the change they want to create in just a couple of words. And then, using my research brain, I noticed that the people that I loved and admired their businesses, people like Simon Sinek, people like Mel Robbins, they could do the same thing. They had a very succinct, compelling, curiosity-provoking message that they led with. Like, they were known for their message. And I was like, that's really, wow, these two things are interesting. So with my own clients, I started experimenting using questions that come out of social movement theory. Things like, what are you rebelling against? What change do you want to create? What ticks you off? What breaks your heart? What kind of world do you want to live in? And I'd have my clients just write on those, just like pour it all out of their heads. And what I found is that, oh my gosh, I could help these people find that message they wanted to be known for quickly by using this process that became the 3-word rebellion. And that's when I knew I had something good and I should pivot my business.
It is so good. And one of the things that we had when I had a coaching session with you was you said that your message and your movement is so important, because if your business is you as a speaker and you say the wrong thing, like one of our guy friends speakers did and got called out for it, I don't know if we should say his name, then you're done. Like, you need to be, your business needs to be bigger than you, because as a speaker, whether we think that we're the sage on the stage, we're not. It's about the audience, and it's about us solving their problems. And if we don't communicate through branding or through our messaging what pain or problem we solve in your 3 succinct words, people won't remember. Mel Robbins, 5-minute rule. Simon Sinek, what is it? Start with why.
Start with why, yep.
Yeah, you remember these. I remember these things from your book and from also just hearing them talk, doing the TED Talks and everything like that. And that's what sticks in organizations' mind. Like you said, the speaking industry is doggy dog. And unless you stand out, this is why I say niche your niche. It's not enough just to have a niche. You have to niche your niche so that people really see you as having that competitive advantage that's going to take their business to the next level. But how do you do that? So that's where the 3-word rebellion comes in. Let's talk a little bit about your 3-word rebellion. You gave them some of the questions that you asked, but let's talk more about how important that is for really creating your brand to stand out in the pack.
Yes. So you've hit on a lot of great points about why it is so important. And I will never forget, I had a conversation with Sally Hogshead, and she said, "Hey, Michelle, do you want to know how I got paid $35,000 per speaking gig before I had a New York Times bestselling book?" And I was like, "Yeah, Sally, please tell me, enlighten me." And she just said simply, "No one else can do what I do. No one else can get on that stage and deliver the fascinate message." And that always stuck in my head. And so with the 3-word rebellion, it is about creating that one-of-a-kind message that encapsulates the change your audience wants to create in their lives. And then the amazing part of that is that when you have that message, they start talking about it. The people in your audience become they are the messengers of your message. You get word of mouth, you get buzz, people buy your book because somebody else told them. And that is the amazing part of having this type of message, is that other people are so excited about it and talk about it. And as a speaker, how valuable is that? Like, you are really remembered for the impact that you're going to make. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with clients and they tell me they saw some big name speaker and, oh my gosh, they were so good. And I was like, great. Well, what was their speech about? And they have no idea. Like, they can't even tell me. And I'm like, yeah, it's not good enough just to be good on stage. Like, you've really got to create this message for the people and build it that's bigger than your business. Build it into a movement. Give people a place to belong so that they are excited to share.
And it's so important because before there was a time where they just wanted motivational rah-rah speakers and you could tell a great story, make people laugh, make people cry. But like after September 11th, when, you know, the speaking industry crashed, right? Basically nobody was flying or having events or conferences anymore. You had to have some practical, readily applicable value for the corporations to even see that there's a return on investment in hiring a speaker. So you had to really prove that there was going to be deliverables. Where's the ROI? The ROI is in your 3-word rebellion, because that is what you deliver. And like you said, you really make your audience members your sales team, because they can't remember your entire speech, but they can remember the 3 words that they can use in their life to make a difference. So when you sit, and it's people think, how can I get my whole business down to 3 words? Well, guess what? You have a book. It's called The 3-Word Rebellion. I'm your sales girl now, friend. Did I tell you I'm requiring my mastermind group to read your book as part of our program?
I heard that. Yeah. That's so exciting. And I think it's so good because the book does take you through the exact process I use with my own clients on how to find your 3-word rebellion, because the deal is, I believe your 3-word rebellion already exists. It's just like swirling around in that head of yours, and it's time to like dig it out. So I love that you are using the book with speakers to help them find that message that they can be the champion and the advocate of.
And I'm not just a reader, I'm a client, because I found my 3-word rebellion. Remember when I told you? So I was like, oh, this is going to take a long time. And what I love about the book is she suggests getting some red wine or craft beer. I'm like, this is my kind of lady. So I got my red wine. I'm doing the workbook. Look, I have it all bent. And she's like, you could write in it. You could do this. And because my tagline before was to your success with ease and grace, which was cute and cool, but people don't believe that you can have success with ease and grace. And and I know that, but there's been times that I've doubted it myself. So it was incongruent for me to be in integrity to promote something that I don't always believe and that other people can't buy into. And so from doing your workbook, I came up with my actual 3-word rebellion. Should I tell them or should I keep it a secret?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to start launching it now?
Yes, I do. I want to start launching it now. You're like, no, don't do it. Don't pull the trigger. I'm like the pull the trigger person. And you're like,
no, I think it's great. I mean, the only way you can know if it's going to work for you is to start putting it out there in different kinds of ways, right? In the book, we talk about having an inciting incident where it's like, you do something to launch that message. And it can be something small like a Facebook Live or saying it on a podcast or even dropping it in sales conversations and seeing how it flies. But I think it's always important to get it out into the world sooner rather than later.
Okay, I'll tell you, everyone. You're the first to hear it. It has never been said before except to Michelle and I in our private conversation. It is align for success. So instead of to your success with ease and grace, align for success, that when your thoughts and your emotions and your behaviors are aligned, your results will be evident. So I'm really excited. I'm going to test it out, see how it goes, and I will let you know, or you let me know, actually, when you comment on the show. You know we have a Facebook group, Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast, and you could also connect with me through my website, Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. But I'm so grateful for you, Michelle. I'm so grateful that all of the people listening are going to get your book. I'm so grateful that people are going to be able to be connected with you and learn from you. How could they stay in touch with you so that they can capture all of the marketing magic that you have?
Yes. Well, obviously you can get the 3-Word Rebellion book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Book Depository. It's very well worth it. It's beautifully designed and it wants you to write all over it and use it. You can always find me at my website, drmichellemazur.com. And right now I am particularly active on Instagram. Like, honestly, that's the best place to DM me. I just love Instagram.
Why?
Like,
tell me why.
It's more intimate. Like, I feel like I have better conversations on Instagram than I do on Facebook or anywhere else. And I love doing Instagram stories because you get to teach something, like I get to teach a messaging concept. And if it goes over well, I can put that in my highlights. And if it doesn't, who cares? It disappears in 24 hours.
Right.
So I love it. I love the intimacy. I love the interaction that happens over there. So I am at Dr. Michelle Mazur on Instagram.
Good to know. And I am so grateful for your time. I'm so grateful for your saying yes to your vision and for following that pivot, because I believe that we're always led, that we have our intuitive guidance system that leads us to the right place at the right time with the right people. And you are definitely in alignment, my friend. So thank you so much. And thank you all. I hope this was so helpful for you. I am telling you, these 3 words are going to change your business, and they may even change your life, because when you live in integrity and you are doing what you actually believe in, you're going to feel whole. And when you feel whole, you're at peace. And that's what makes us abundant. To be abundant is to be at peace. That's what I believe. So thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Remember, you are a messenger for that message. And with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Always on the road speaking and your house is all alone collecting dust? Wouldn't it be nice to make some passive income while you're out speaking on the road? Well, I do. Want to know my secret? Airbnb. I use Airbnb to make some extra cash to reinvest in marketing for my speaking business. It's so simple. You just set up a listing and voila, you come home to money in your bank account on top of what you already made speaking. If you want to know more, go to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast.com to get all the information. Thank you for tuning in to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. If you want to get a free webinar on 5 steps to be able to be a paid speaker, go to deborahderas.com/podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, you are the messenger for the message, and with the power of synergy, anything is possible.